Right, good. So let's set the scene then, G. I've pitched, you like it, you could buy it, but you're skeptical, right? So just kick off with, yeah, it does sound good, but is there a guarantee?
Okay. All right. Yeah, Jeff. So sounds great. What sort of guarantee do you offer?
When you say guarantee, mate, what do you mean exactly?
Yeah, in terms of me, in terms of this working.
Okay. All right, mate, I got you. We can for sure talk about that in a sec. Before we do, let me ask you a question. Money aside, do you feel like the program is what you're looking for? And what is your confidence level that this would work for you if you gave it 100%?
I like the process. I think it will work. But again, it's a sizable investment for me in the situation I'm in. So, any guarantee would be great.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. So if I hear you correctly, mate, you're saying it's just a lot of money without a guarantee, correct?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and mate, I understand. I fully appreciate that there's some discomfort. Um, just because there's some discomfort though, does that mean that it would be the wrong thing to do just because it feels uncomfortable to make a decision like this?
No, I don't, but I've got, people that I'm supporting, people reliant on me, and it's a
Yeah,
huge chunk of, I'd be risking a lot
I
without a
get it.
guarantee.
Yeah, I get it. I do understand, mate. It, can I share a perspective with you, Gray?
Yeah, sure.
Here's the thing. There's essentially two schools of thought, right? There are people that need a guarantee before they take any action, and then there are those that make themselves the guarantee, right? So the first person is always going to be waiting for somebody else to take on the risk. Like if you promise me this will work, I'll do it. If you give me a guarantee this will work, I'll do it. And the problem with that mindset of never committing until somebody is fully comfortable is it usually doesn't get you to where you want to be. Where, and be honest with me, mate, where has that mindset got you to up until this point in terms of income?
Well, exactly where I am now, right? So we're just making ends meet. So
Okay,
not where I want to be.
right. So do you think waiting for somebody else to give you a guarantee has moved you closer to or further from your goal?
Well, it's certainly not closer to it.
Right,
So that's fair.
right. So the second type of person, mate, is really the person that will put a line in the sand, step up to the plate and saying, do you know what? It isn't about what Jeff guarantees me. It isn't about what somebody else is willing to guarantee me. It's about becoming the guarantee and setting a standard for yourself that you're going to make it work no matter what. Because they understand that their level of determination is what makes the guarantee. They will back themselves, right? So for you, and again, be honest, dude. What happens if you keep needing a guarantee before you take any action? Where does that put you 12 months from now?
Well, I mean, if I can find somebody to give me a guarantee, then maybe things will change.
But I think the problem is, mate, is there are only two guarantees in life: death and tax, right? You could use the analogy like if I buy a treadmill, am I guaranteed to lose weight? Well, no, because if you buy a treadmill and leave it propped up against a garage wall, you're not going to lose any weight. So it's not buying the treadmill, it's committing to a daily habit and a daily action of doing what is uncomfortable, which is getting on the damn thing and using it every day. Right. So it's not about who can give you a guarantee. It's about whether or not you're willing to step up to the plate and be the guarantee. Who do you want to be, dude? Like, because if nothing changes, nothing changes, right? If you just keep running around looking for a guarantee, You
Yeah, I
just
need to
admitted
be.
that that's not got you to where you want to be,
Yeah.
right? So what you've got to decide, mate, is who you want to be. Do you want to be the person who needs a guarantee and abdicates all of their responsibility for their success onto somebody else? Or do you want to be the person who becomes the guarantee by putting in the work, by showing up, by using the treadmill? Which one do you want to be?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I want to be the guarantee, right? I think it's just nerves, isn't it? It's just
And
fear of making a
dude,
commitment.
I can appreciate that you're nervous. Do you know what I mean? I'd think that you were some sort of psycho if you weren't nervous, but that feeling of nerves usually tells you that you're about to do something different. And would you agree with me that you need to do something different in order to get a different outcome to the one you've been getting?
Yes.
So how do you think that person who is willing to step up to the plate, willing to put a line in the sand, how do you think that person makes a decision right now? Like what sort of mindset do you think they need to have so that they can get to where they want to go? Is it going
They've
to
got
be
to.
taking the responsibility for yourself, or is it going to be continuously trying to wait for somebody to give you a guarantee?
Mm, that they would back themselves, wouldn't they? They would,
Why though?
you know,
Why would they do that?
because I guess you're right. You can't turn up outside my house and make sure I'm doing the work, right? You know,
Right.
so
So my question, mate, is if this does everything I say it will, do you feel like it's worth the investment?
if it does everything you say it will, then yes.
Do you trust me that it will?
Well, yeah, but I've only spoken to you for an hour, right?
Sure.
So, as much as I can, yes.
Okay. So really, the only question left is whether you're willing to step up to the plate and do the things that are difficult to put you and your family in a position where you can get that result. Because I can give you the treadmill, dude. No problem. I got the treadmill. And the proof and the testimonials show you that we've got the treadmill, but I can't make you use it. The only thing you've got to ask yourself is whether or not you're willing to use it. Are you willing to?
I feel like I want to spill off into more objections now because I think that this guarantee thing sometimes is now the new smokescreen, isn't it? For, you know, whatever kind of thing. I feel
Dude,
like,
let's run it.
you know, because I feel like I
Spill
want to
off.
drop into a spouse objection now, right? Just
Go
say,
for
oh,
it.
okay,
Drop
yeah,
into
okay,
spouse. That's all right.
you know. So yeah, do you know what? You're right, Jeff. Let me just speak to the wife tonight, and all being well, first thing tomorrow, you know, I will be the guarantee. We'll do it.
All right. I get it. When you speak to her, mate, what do you think she'll say about this? Like, is she supportive of you changing the situation for you and the family and creating this life that you want?
She is, but it's a sizable investment for us. So I've got to run it by her. I think once I explain it to her, then she'll back me. But it's a chunk of change that we've got to discuss.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. And what if she says no? Like, what if she says, Graham, absolutely not. I don't want you improving our financial situation. We're not spending that kind of money. What happens then?
I think, to be honest, Jeff, I'm going to do it. I just want to have that conversation.
Yeah.
You
What
know,
in a hypothetical situation though, what if she does say no? What if she goes, no, absolutely not. You and I are getting a divorce.
I feel like my mind's made up and I'm going to do it.
What, you're going to
I
do it
just,
anyway, regardless of what the wife says?
well, yeah, unless, I've got bin bags on the lawn tonight,
Well, I don't want you to have bing bags on the lawn,
yeah,
mate.
I want to do it. I just feel that, I better sign off with her and
I
get
get
a
it.
blessing.
I do get it. Here's my only concern for you, mate. If you bring this to your wife and you ask her for her opinion without any context of this conversation, who we are, what we do, how we help, the only thing she's going to hear is the investment. All she's going to hear is 8,800, and she's probably going to say absolutely not.
Yeah,
Is that fair to say?
yeah, for sure.
So can I share another perspective with you?
Yeah,
Have you ever heard the phrase heavy as a head that wears the crown?
I have.
Do you know what it means?
Um, I think it alludes to the responsibility,
Right.
of
Yeah,
me being the guarantee and the leader, I guess,
for sure. It's what it is it's not the crown itself isn't heavy. It's the burden of responsibility that the person wearing it feels. Right. So with that in mind, whose responsibility is it whether you put food on the table, whether you level up as a human being and you level up your skill set? Whose responsibility is it for you, your family, as the husband and the father of your household? Who does that responsibility fall down to? Whose shoulders?
It's me.
Right. So, given that it's your responsibility, do you actually think it's fair to take this to your wife, given that she isn't going to be the one to do the program, right? She's not going to be the one to use the treadmill, for want of a better analogy. Do you think it's fair to give her the burden of this responsibility to make a decision on something that ultimately is yours? Do you think that's fair to her?
So what are you thinking? Just do it, and then if she kicks off, you know,
My only question at this point, dude, is do you think it's fair to get her to make a decision on something that is your responsibility?
now you say it like that, and I don't think so, no,
Why not, though?
because it's my role here to steer us in the right direction and make that decision, and do what is right by us. And she, in fairness to her, bless her, she doesn't know enough about this to, to have a, to steer me either way, right? Because
Yeah,
she's not an expert in this. So
yeah. No, I get
yeah.
it. So, given that we can agree this is your responsibility and that you probably shouldn't put this on her, you are kind of at a fork in the road here, dude. So, tell me, what action do you think you need to take to own that responsibility, not pass it off to somebody else, step up to the plate and do everything you can to put yourself in a position where you can provide the kind of life you want for you and the family? What do you think you need to do to get that result?
Mm, yeah, I just need to back myself tonight.
What if you don't know? What if you choose to not take on that responsibility and in 2 years' time, you're still in exactly the same place you are right now, still struggling with the bills, not giving the family the life you want? How is it going to feel at that point when you look at your kids to know that you didn't do what was necessary when you had the chance to do it?
Mm, it will feel terrible, and I'll just be a letdown.
What do you think that version of you would tell you to do right now?
The version of me that didn't do it,
Yeah.
it would tell me I should have done it, 100%.
Okay. Now flip the script. What if you did do it and you did start making that 15, 20K a month? What would that version of you tell you to do right now?
Right, tell me to do it, right?
Right. So both versions of you
No brainer.
in the future would tell you to do it. My question is, what do you think you should do?
Let's do it. I need to do it. Let's do it.
Sure? Because you don't have to, brother. Nobody's going to force you.
No, 100%. Take my money before I change my mind. Come on.
All right. End role play.